Well, a little earlier, Faisal caught up with the Chancellor, George Osborne. He asked him whether today's figures meant the economy had finally turned the corner.
Well, of course, economic growth is down to the hard work of millions and millions of people and the decisions of many businesses to expand and take people on. So that's where, if there's credit going, the credit should go. But I would say, look, of course, we should welcome today's news. I think we should understand there are some one-off factors. There's the Jubilee bank holiday, the Olympic ticket sales. But if you take the last two quarters together, so you include the rather weak and disappointing last quarter, put them together, you can see some underlying growth. And I think for us, we've got to keep on with the plans to deal with our debts, pay our way in the world, and compete in that global race of the future.
So your assessment of the economy is that it's back to growth just? You're not overplaying this number?
No, look, I'm taking the number as it is. I'm saying we've still got a long way to go. We've got these problems at home. We're still dealing with the deleveraging, the unwinding of the debts of the boom years. And we've got a real competition out there in the world to make ourselves a place where businesses want to come and create jobs rather than go to some other part of the world. So I'm more than aware we've got some huge challenges ahead.
Do you feel less of a need now to, if you like, soup up the plan, to provide some sort of extra stimulus, or do you feel things are now back on plan again?
Well, I would always say we've been on plan. The plan has been to fix a badly broken economy, that was always going to take time, that we've been hit by some external events like the weakness in the Eurozone where we export a lot of our things. But this was never going to be a miracle overnight cure for the British economy. We're recovering from the deepest recession of the last 100 years, the biggest banking crisis possibly in British history. So these things were never going to happen instantly, and it has taken longer than anyone hoped. But we're heading in the right direction.
When you look over the sweep of the past two and a half years that you've been Chancellor, though, growth was predicted at 5.7% and you've got 0.6%. It's still something of a very strong disappointment, and not all of it's down to external factors.
Well, I would say there's not a single finance minister in the Western world who has seen their economy grow in the way they would have wished over the last 2 years. We've all had to deal with our problems. I think particularly in Britain, we've got some very deep-seated problems of indebtedness and a lack of competitiveness. So we're tackling those problems. And as I say, the healing process is taking longer than people hoped. But it is happening. And I think, I guess people watching this want to know the answer to the basic question, are we heading in the right direction? And I think we are.
Are we past the worst? Does this figure show we're past the worst here and in the Eurozone?
Well, I'm not an economic forecaster. That job is now done by an independent body. But I think we can see from this news that we've got the right approach. We've still got a long way to go, but we're heading in the right direction. And
just on Europe, do you think, are you pleasantly surprised by the sort of more positive, stable account that seems to be coming from the Eurozone?
Well, I am, of course, it's very welcome. And I think, there are some important decisions the Eurozone have taken. The intervention by the European Central Bank in the summer to say that it would act in certain circumstances, I think has been very helpful. I mean, the one thing I would say is it's important that the Eurozone is not sort of lulled into a false sense of security by this relatively calm period of the markets. They've got to use this now to make the reforms they know they need to make, the reforms they've said they need to make, creating a banking union, making sure that there's more coordination of their fiscal policy and the like. I think the mistake would be for them to take their foot off the accelerator just because they've got a easier piece of road at the moment. As the surveys from the Eurozone earlier this week showed, not all is well in the Eurozone economy, and they've got to push on with those reforms to make their currency work.
So you might call 1.0 a first-class figure?
Look, it's a good figure. And what we've got to do is make sure we go on reducing the deficit, make sure we go on creating those jobs in the private sector, make sure we go on healing the British economy.
Thank you, Chancellor.
Thank you.
Faisal Islam talking to the Chancellor earlier. And later in the programme, Ford announced plans to shut 2 plants with the loss of 1,400 jobs. We'll be hearing the reaction of workers at Dagenham.
It's devastating, really. All right,
Thank you so much.
That's okay.